Hey guys, Zomfox here, and breaking news. The Memphis Showboats finally have their new head coach and GM for the 2025 UFL season. This is massive news. We have been waiting for this for well over a month and a half, and we finally know who they are. And while the head coach is, let's just say, someone we had no idea was going to get hired for this job. So, as you can see here, the new GM is Jim Manos, and the new head coach is none other than Ken Whisenhunt. This is an absolute stunner of a hire. This is one of those hires that we just didn't see coming, and it's just huge. Now, if you want to read the full press release and all that, you can go to this article. I have a link in the description. The Whisenhunt named head coach, Manos serves GM. There's a lot of quotes in there, a lot of information. But let's just get right into it with who these guys are for those of you who don't know. Now, Ken Whisenhunt is somebody who, if you were an NFL fan in the early 2000s to early 2010s, you know exactly who this guy is. This is somebody who was an offensive coordinator for a Super Bowl champion Steelers team. Remember that team that ended up beating the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl? He was the offensive coordinator for that Super Bowl. So he was able to parlay that success to getting a job as the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. He was the head coach when they made it with Kurt Warner to the Super Bowl, where they eventually did lose to the Steelers. But he did make it to a Super Bowl with the Arizona Cardinals of all teams. Now, after one other postseason berth in 2009, he ended up not making it to the playoffs and ended up being gone after 2012. But after serving as OC for the Chargers for 1 year, he would get another head coaching opportunity with the Titans, where he ended up only lasting 1.5 seasons. Didn't do all too good there. I mean, as you can tell, 2-14 and 1-6 is terrible. But he still was a head coach for two different teams. Now, after that, he would go back to the Chargers as their OC for a few years. Then has been more so like an analyst, kind of assistant guy for Penn State and Alabama, and now is the head coach of the Memphis Showboats. Look, this is a move we didn't expect to hear, okay? When we had heard all the rumors from James Larson, we were expecting it to be somebody who was within spring football already. We had heard rumors about other people, like outsiders in a sense, but this is one of those hires that I don't think anyone saw coming. This is very much like a Mike Nolan hire. This is one of those hires that kind of comes out of left field, a guy that has absolutely nothing to do with spring football, getting a job. Again, this is a guy who was a head coach in the NFL for almost a decade, when you count all of his time there, and who has been to a Super Bowl, and now he is going to be the head coach of the Memphis Showboats. This is a fantastic hire. Now, while I definitely am one of the few, I'm one of many people who was upset that Jaron Horton didn't get this job. I think all of us can agree that this is one of those hires that it's just, you didn't see this coming, right? This is a legitimately good hire in a sense. You're getting somebody who has a ton of NFL experience and college experience. Now, will we get the NFL experience from that early 2000s to late 2000s, where he was an OC on a Super Bowl winning team and got there as a head coach? Or will we see that 2010s form where the teams that he was coaching weren't all too successful? That's going to be important to see. But the fact is, this is still a hire that I don't think anyone expected, and is definitely something that just came out of left field again, like I said. But I think it's a welcomed hire. Again, I do hope he brings in somebody like a Jaron Horton as his DC or an Anthony Blevins, but we'll have to see about that. But again, fantastic hire. I think this is an outstanding one. Mike Nolan has proven to be one of the best coaches in the entire league, and this is somebody who is in that same kind of ideal or vein of a Mike Nolan in a sense of when he was in the NFL and all that. So this is definitely gets a thumbs up from me. Now, the GM is going to be Jim Manos, as I said earlier. Now, he is somebody who has been within spring football ever since the AAF. He was the director of player personnel for the San Diego Fleet, which were a solid team in 2019. And then in 2022 and 2023, he was a senior director of football operations with the XFL. Now, this is somebody who was a director of player personnel for the Bills for a few years. During that time, they did select some really solid players, with, the main two being guys like Matt Milano and Tre'Davious White, who, of course, Tre'Davious White, before all his injuries started, was an absolutely outstanding player. Now, he was also a guy who served as an area scout for the Saints, and he was part of that team that ended up winning the Super Bowl. So, this is a guy who has a lot of experience as well at getting personnel. And again, he was a huge reason why the Bills got some of these players they did. Remember, director of play personnel is a big deal. He has been in spring football as well for the past few years. So he's going to be able to kind of, bridge that gap that Whisenhunt needs to be bridged on spring football and what's different about it. Because this is somebody who was involved in the NFL, especially with the Bills for those few years, and now is going to be, in spring football. Overall, though, this is huge. So, overall, what does this mean for the Showboats? Well, what it means pretty much is that the Showboats can finally start building a team and their fans can start getting excited for 2025. Again, this was a great head coaching hire, and I really don't think they could have done much better than who they got. And again, this was just overall a great hiring cycle. Now, again, there are some things. Some people are going to be upset that we're not seeing some of those old, USFL and XFL guys getting the head coaching job. Some are going to be upset it's not a Jaron Horton or like an AJ Smith. But I think this is a hire that you just don't pass up in a sense that it worked wonders with Mike Nolan. Mike Nolan has been one of the best coaches in spring football the past 2 years. And again, this is somebody who's very much like Mike Nolan in that sense of being a head coach during that, 2000s, early 2010s era of the NFL and has still been around. So this I think, is a great overall dual hire. But if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. We still have a lot of news that needs to be coming out. Of course, we're waiting on any sort of official word on where the Michigan Panthers are going to play. We know when the season's going to start, but we have no idea on the schedule and all that. So make sure you subscribe for all that. And as always, guys, have a great night.